started.
Okay.
So here we are today with my new friend, Laura. We have just met, but I've heard so many good things about you because we have a friend in common that is Robert Martin. He was the one who told me that I would be super happy to talk to you, and it's true. Now that we have been talking for a little bit, and we could
Yes.
be talking forever, I guess. So that's it. If you could just talk a little bit about yourself and let us know who you are.
So my name is Laura Casanellas. I am from the north of Spain, but I have been living pretty much all my adult life in Dublin, Ireland. I work in localization, of course, and I work as a consultant, localization consultant, and I specialized in implementation of machine translation. But also I suppose I have a strong experience in quality as well, quality programs. And then because I'm old and I've been around for a while, I have experience in many areas related to operations. I've done it all, basically. Pretty much.
But the thing is, you didn't start by thinking about localization in your life. So you were a bit more artistic oriented, I believe. And so you actually studied journalism, right? And media related subjects.
So my passion and I suppose my gift as well is communication, really. So from very early on, I've liked writing and reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I did journalism in Spain as my university degree, and I worked very actively in the local media over there. I was in radio very early on. I was faking like literally that I knew anything about sports, which I didn't, because every Sunday I was sent to to kind of cover like minor football games, and in the beginning I had no idea, but everybody around me helped me.
Yes, everybody knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, all the men who were there knew, obviously, what an offside is and all that. I didn't.
I don't.
I think I still don't, to be honest, but let's leave that aside. And then I had to come back and talk about this football game. So, but radio, I love. I do love radio, and I grew up with the radio in my house all the time, and I listened to a lot of radio, and I listened to a lot of podcasts as well. And then I moved on to writing for local newspapers. And I suppose I was lucky enough to end up like working full time already when I was still studying. So the last, as I say to my children, I suppose it's not a good example, but I had said it to them that in my last year of college, I didn't go to college. I was working full time in a newspaper, and I would just show up to get the notes on Friday, and then did the exams, passed the degree, and that was it. So that's my love. And then once I've been in Dublin, I have done also a master's in media production and all that. So I still, I suppose, like to say that I use these skills with my job now. I gather knowledge and I know how to transfer it very well. I think it's one of the gifts I have. So I do a lot of trainings, a lot of mentoring, things like that for companies. So I try to, to pass my knowledge into them. And I think I do it quite successfully. People don't fall asleep on my sessions, which is always a plus. And they come back as well. They come back, which is great as well. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
So when did the big bug of LSPs come into your life?
Well, I suppose I am opportunistic by nature. and also very curious. Being a journalist, you need to be curious about absolutely everything around you. And also, I think I can do a lot of things. I am one of these people who is flexible enough to, to kind of be okay in different scenarios.
Kind of
So
transform
after,
what you know and make it into something else.
yes, and kind of move on and gather knowledge and, and I suppose learn new skills. I love that. So after having been in Dublin for a while, having a great time, Dublin is the best place to have a great time. I began to think, okay, now you need to be serious and you like this place, you want to stay in this place. I was already in a relationship, so I was kind of committed to
with an Irish person.
With an Irish person, yes. My children are half Irish. I think they are full Irish. They aren't. They are only half. I think they are the full Irish. Anyway, that's an inside joke for Irish people. So I thought, what can I do here? And I didn't feel confident enough, to be honest. My English wasn't good enough to work in media at that time. So I had friends who were translators, and I did a couple of courses, and I thought, maybe I can do this,
And like there's a lot of LSPs in Dublin and Cork and all of those places in Ireland, as far as I know.
Well, big companies like MLBs,
Apple.
even, so yes, I mean, obviously at that time it was the end, the last years of the 90s. So we are talking about long time ago. There was a lot of localization companies setting their headquarters in Dublin. So I mean, in that case, it was a great moment, right? So I started in Lionbridge as a translator.
You worked as a translator. I didn't know
did,
that.
I did for 6 months. My friend Anna Gerberov very kindly gave me a job. I was really bad at it. I mean, she's never said that to me, but I know that I was not born to be a translator. So in any case, I had this small contract, and then I moved on to Vivendi Games, which had a big French game and media company, which had the localization quarters in Dublin again. And there I found my place more because I worked as a quality person. I was looking after the end quality.
Right.
And I suppose that was more, more closer to my skills. And it was great. It was great fun. The company was very young. We all, of course, it was a multilingual, bunch of people from everywhere, multicultural. And the testing of the games was done, language testing was done in the company, in the offices. So at lunchtime, 70% of the people would be playing a multiplayer game, shooting game at lunchtime. So you couldn't go and talk to anybody because they were all crazy, mad, killing each other, in the game, and screams, and it was hilarious. It really was, And anyway, apart from that, I did learn a lot. I began to work with LSPs. I was the client. And later on, many years ago, in fact, 2 or 3 years ago, I was working as a consultant, machine translation consultant, for a very large MLB specialized in games. And the head of localization said to me, "You gave out to me in Dublin once." And I said, "Oh my God, what did I do?" And they were a vendor. They were the Italian vendor, who translated the games, and they came to visit and all that. And I wasn't too pleased with the quality. they were given. So I thought, small world, you know, you need to you need to be in good terms with everybody.
That's true.
But no, he was fine. He was fine with that. So that's how I started in localization. I mean, that, I suppose I was there for 7 years, and that was an amazing experience. Really fantastic. Yeah.
So then you thought, just games is not enough for me. I need more variety.
Well, it wasn't as easy as that. There were, I think there was a restructuring, you know, in big companies, there's always
Yes.
the forever restructuring word. And we all, you know, we all begin to tremble when this happens. And they kind of gave me the option of staying or leaving. And I took the living. I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. There was a redundancy. I had a young daughter already as well. My son had been born as well. So I thought, new opportunities. Yeah. I'm going to take the money and run. So I did that. And then for a while, I was working as a consultant as well. Let's call it consultant. And I did a lot of I was working for the same company. That was amazing because I could take my job with me. So they still needed somebody to look after the quality. So for a while, that was very handy. And I also then began to work as a vendor manager.
Yes. I've seen that.
For Simultrans, which is one of my favorite companies. They are fantastic people, and I've been with them in and out, you know, consulting for years, and I have friends there.
How was that experience of working as a vendor manager? Well, I've been a vendor manager myself for 8 years, so I have my take on it, but I'd love to hear yours.
So vendor manager for me, or vendor management for me, and I'm talking about my experience in operations, let's say, that's where I have more experience, is one of the toughest jobs in the game. I'm sorry. Like, I just find it so tough. It is very tough, you know. I don't think people really realize how good it is to have a good vendor manager. And I've seen like great vendor managers at work, and it's amazing how they do it. You know, they need to communicate, they need to engage, they need to be polite. Sometimes they need to be tough. They need to be amazing negotiators as well. So while reducing the rates, still engaging people, and you know, you name it.
I guess that is what we're known for as vendor managers.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's not all we do, right? It's not all we do, but it's like what people focus on the most. And I always like talking about that relationship between the vendor management team and the freelancers. And I do believe, because that was my case, that we are definitely engaged with the idea that we need to do our best towards the vendor. It's just that sometimes it doesn't come out that way. Right. We cannot do certain things because, of course, we're bound to company policies and all that. But it's true that in our hearts, it's the freelancer's best interest that we have in mind. And we try our best, everyone that I know that works as a vendor manager, to actually make that happen. So I suppose that's also, I guess, how you feel.
Well, I just think, like, I mean, in this super hyper competitive world or business we live in, finding good resources is tough because everybody's fighting for them, right? And there are so many companies and all that, but keeping them, it's just as tough. So like, a good vendor manager needs to look after their people. They really do, you know. They really need to nurture this relationship so that people are happy to stay with them, with the company. So yeah, I mean, they need to do it all. They really do. And I think it's very important, as you say, that the freelancers, linguists, they feel that the vendor manager is not just there with a stick, you know. it's also trying to look after them. They will recommend them for good jobs. They will remember them, things like that. So it's a give and take, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
I
definitely, yeah.
definitely enjoyed it a lot. I don't know how you felt about it. I suppose you did too, because I mean, you love communicating, you love people, I suppose. So, I mean, for me, it was just amazing. I did it for 8 years, so it wasn't bad.
I've done it in a couple of occasions. Yes, like I mean, I loved it because I do love, I suppose, yes, interacting with
Mm,
people and all that. But definitely, yeah, I thought that is tough. It's tough enough. And then,
mm.
like all of a sudden, you need to find somebody who speaks this language, and they are a specialist on I don't know what, And then you
Yeah.
go, how am I going to find this person now? Does this person ever exist?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's certainly challenging and interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Having a
then
lot
of
of
course you need to talk to the internal teams all the time,
Mhm.
etc. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I liked. Like being in the middle and knowing about this one and knowing about the other one and just being
Yes,
there. And then all of a sudden, one day, someone calls you at the office and says, well, we need to get a group of people and reduce their rates because of this, because of that. You're like, hmm.
I know.
But that's not always happening. No, it's not constantly happening, right?
But it
There
is,
are
I mean,
periods.
sometimes it is, yes, yes. And then you have to begin to think, okay, what am I giving them? How am I selling this to them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's very, I find it, and that's the way I did it. I was very personal about it, and I actually received also amazing things in my inbox, or even in the mail, things like people trying to explain to me what their situation was, sending me photos of their sick mothers, and I don't know, just explaining their whole situation and
yes,
why they couldn't reduce rates. And
yeah,
I mean, it was very intense. It's very personal. It's very emotional, and you have to really balance everything around you and still company's interests and the whole production team. So it's very intense, but it's very human, I guess, and that's what
yes.
people usually don't think about it. Like, oh, they're calling me vendor, they're calling me resource, they're calling me. I know there's a lot of
I know, yeah, they don't
freelancers who are
like it
not happy
doing
about that.
resource. I know. I don't know
Yeah.
who came up with this name. I suppose what I would say is that I mean, there's a lot of so much automation now in localization. It's unbelievable. But certainly, I think for vendor management, even though like everything can be more or less automated, notifications, this,
Hmm.
that, and the other, I think it's a good thing that there's a person at the end of it all.
Hmm.
And exactly some like a person who can relate to the other people who are doing this linguistic work. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think for the people it makes a big difference. you know
Yes. Yes. I felt that, and I loved that part about it too. That you feel like at least you're doing your best, right, to make
yes,
sure that everything works. But then talking about things that people don't usually enjoy. Yes, you then became a
yes,
big expert on this animal called machine translation, right?
yes. Well, I suppose before that I moved on. I suppose like some crisis, I don't know which year, there's always a crisis
Yes,
that makes
always.
me kind of think, okay, now maybe I need a permanent job because there's a crisis coming. And when a crisis comes, like consultants are the ones that sometimes, are dropped, and it makes sense. Like, you know, companies tighten their belts and they
Mm,
think, okay, maybe I wanted to do this project, but I'm going to leave it for next year because there's no money, or I don't know if there's going to be money. There's uncertainty.
hmm.
So I thought, okay, maybe it's a good time for me to go to a permanent position, and I did. I found a great position in We Localize as a quality manager. And again, I think I was in We Localize for around 7 years or something like
So it's
that.
your number, right? You
I
stay for
know,
seven
yeah.
number.
Then it's like out, one way or another, out. So, and in that case, like half of my time I was working as a quality manager. So I went back to quality, which is what I love, and I think I do very well. It was unbelievably complex super complex, big accounts, so many languages, copywriting, all sorts of workflows, millions of words. And like, I don't know if anybody thinks like me, but being a quality manager sometimes is almost like being a PR manager. You really need to talk to you really need to talk to your people, to your clients, and sell them the idea of localization. So sometimes I would find that I had a great relationship with the quality manager on the other side, on the side of the client, who is an Irish woman, Angela. She's amazing. And we got on really well, and we understood each other really well. So there was no problem there. But then, of course, there were all the local representatives of the different locales and languages. And those people were more, I suppose, their jobs were more related to marketing than localization. I mean, they would be kind of signing off copies simply because that was going to be, published in their own locals and all that. So they had no idea about localization. So maybe somebody could come and, like, from, I don't know, from maybe the Romanian office and said, I want to change this term. And you would go, they don't know what this means. Like, I mean, this term is a key term, you cannot change it. Like, I mean, if you change it, you have to change it everywhere. You have to change it in the documentation, translation memories, blah, blah, So there was a lot of literally at that time picking up the phone and talking to these people and saying, okay, if we do this, this is what it means, everything published before, it's going to be different. There's going to be inconsistencies. There's all this, I suppose, budget that you need to allocate to this. Is this really necessary?
So when you mentioned the budget is when things started to get a little
I suppose people begin to realize that there's more to it, Excuse me. So there's a lot to be said about education, of clients. I don't think a free.
Yes, please.
Excuse me, because my throat gets very dry.
Yes, do whatever you need to do. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. So then when I was there, the same client, who were very advanced in terms of technology, innovation, they were kind of pioneer. They decided they wanted machine translation.
So what year was this, sort of?
I was going to say, that was, I think, I mean, it's not that long ago. It feels like an era ago. I think it was around 2012 or something like that. So, I mean, it's not 20 years ago. It's barely 10 years ago. But so many things have happened since.
For sure.
And localization has changed so much in that time that it feels like if it was, prehistoric times. So anyway, they came and said, this is what we want. And they split their translation budget between us and another big, large MLB. And we knew that they would come to us for innovation because We Localize was great for innovation. They would always, experiment and research and try to get, I suppose, as many innovations and new technologies as possible. So we knew that it was either us or somebody else was going to do it. And we were all a bit kind of, I was quality manager. I was thinking, machine translation, I don't know about this, blah, blah. So anyway, we did it. It was amazing. It took us a year. We did a lot of investigation on the providers that were available to us at that time. We created the engines. Well, they created the engines, but we had to support them with all the translation memories, everything. and then we had to do the analysis. That was the times of statistical models, obviously, not neural models.
Not yet.
Not yet. And then it really read like machine translation, like Google Translate. You know,
Yes,
the way
yes.
like clients, they still say these days,
I
which I
know.
think is true most of the time, but anyway.
I know. I
When they
talk about that all
say,
the time.
this looks like Google Translate.
Yes, yes. It's amazing. I
But,
love it. I always say no
well,
because it would be better.
yes, indeed. So at that time, it really did read like a machine translation because, you know, there was no fluency at all. It was all very kind of chunky, robotic. But still, we thought, okay, I'm being kind of the innovators and trying to be data-driven. We thought, okay, we need to test this. We need to see if indeed this is productive because we need to sell it to 27 vendors, you know, LSPs who are going to need to work on this. So we as I mean, the company, the team created this kind of app automation using Omega T that would read words per hour. Okay, so that we could do testing, translating and post-editing and seeing the difference between speed, clearly speed between one and the other. I mean, it's funny because now companies have implemented it in many cases, you know, and it all started there with us kind of saying, okay, how do we do this? And do we need to take into consideration thinking time? Which of course you do. What happens if they go back to the same segment, which translators do all the time? They don't do a linear translation and then they move on. They go back, they change, they reread. So all this needed to be taken into consideration. So this time needed to be added to the final. I mean, you name it. It was like fascinating and complicated. But once we had it all done, and we did the analysis, indeed, to almost our surprise in many ways, because the translators would complain so much, you know.
Yes.
We did see that there was a clear productivity increase, you know, what we call the productivity delta. We went to conferences about this and all that. So then we had to do the job of evangelizing everybody. I mean, evangelizing sounds a bit fancy, but it really is kind of explaining, telling, convincing, you know, moving on with this concept. So at that time, we Localized, I suppose, realized how important this technology was going to be in the future. And they created this tools team. And I was invited to take part of the tools team, managing like I suppose the part of analysis, talking to clients, training internal teams, training post-editors, etc. So I moved on. I jumped in at the opportunity. I was only too delighted because I love new things. I thought this was super exciting. I could see that it was something that it was going to be, I suppose,
here forever.
And even though I have said that vendor management is very tough, quality management now, that is super tough as well. You know, so after I don't know how many years, like, I mean, the pressure was unbelievable to keep the quality of, you know, all these languages absolutely pristine. You know, the threshold was super high, and week after week after week. And so I had done it, learned it, loved it. I was ready to move on. So I just moved on to machine translation. And so I did it for a few years in We Localized. And then I moved on again, and I had the opportunity to, I mean, the good thing about Dublin is that we all know each other. in many ways.
And you have everything there and everybody there, right?
Exactly. I
In
mean,
this
there are so
area,
many
obviously.
people. It's such a small community as well. We all kind of go around working in the same companies, or
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you haven't worked, I mean, there are companies I haven't worked, but maybe there are like 10 people that I know, they are working there, or they are my friends or whatever, So in any case, I thought I would love to work for a machine translation provider.
Wow.
I really would like to see the other side of I call it the dark side, jokingly, right? So anyway, I did. I talked to Tony O'Dowd, whom I knew from the industry, of course. And I said, I don't know if, do you need anybody? Are you hiring? And he said, yes, actually I am. So I joined as a product manager. Once again, fascinating, absolutely fascinating, an area that I loved, which is also that people in the industry can do, right? Product management. And I also ended up working, I suppose, managing their professional services as well. So that was amazing. It was a great learning 2 or 3 years. So many things happened. First of all, I suppose the new technology, neural, appeared, right? And we did the change while I was there. So I could see the absolutely amazing difference between the previous one and the new one. So that was amazing. One, like straight away, I said, okay, I'm reviewing the Spanish. The Spanish is for me. I really want to see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And then product management, again, super fascinating. I did myself and the developer did a user experience course in one of the colleges in Dublin. Just preparing for the job of changing the UI, changing all the layout of the app, right? I loved it. Absolutely loved it. We did all sorts of crazy things like use case testing. And, it was, once again, it was finding solutions, better ways of doing the same thing, putting ourselves in the place of the person who was using the application, and what happened, how can we improve this, how can we make it visually more appealing, etc. So that was amazing as well. And then, I suppose, just to come to the final part of my career.
That's when the magic beans show up, right?
Yes. So far. So what I was seeing between my time in We Localize and definitely my time in Cantan, I saw that there was, I suppose, a need in the market, which was companies, in this case, many times LSPs or localization teams from bigger companies, whatever. They wanted to implement the technology, right? The translation, machine translation technology, but they didn't know how to. I mean, okay, the machine translation providers, most of them now provide the service of do it yourself.
Yeah, but it depends on the internal team, right? So types of companies can just include that in their normal workflow, and others can't. So I guess you need to come in and maybe be the bridge between the MT provider and, I don't know. Is it the type of work that you do?
Yes, definitely. So I suppose one thing is the same as everything. Like with a TMS, with whatever, we have so much technology in the industry. One thing is being able to use the technology, and another thing is knowing how to use it well. So, like I thought, okay, great opportunity. for me to set up on my own, which I like. I love being an independent consultant. I tried for a while. Then the crisis came, and I had a very young family, and I thought, no, I need a permanent position. And then I stayed on for another bunch of years, in permanent positions and all that. But what I really like is being, I suppose, an independent consultant, because I see so many things. I learn so much from different clients and all that. So I thought, okay, let's see if this works. A little bit like what you are trying, Rita, at what we were talking about before. Let's give this some sort of breathing space, and see if this works, and see if this sticks, So, and this is what I've been doing ever since. That was, I think, 2017. So that's kind of 5 years, more or less.
Yeah.
I'm still here. It's great.
Yeah. You already have an overview of 5 years on what happened and what was going the way that you expected it to be going, or what didn't work. That kind of thing, I suppose, right? In 5 years, you can already see and know about also how you performed according to your own expectations.
So I suppose, I mean, thankfully, the companies I work with are usually very happy, happy. I make companies happy.
You should,
I make companies happy. Yes, definitely. So I am successful on transferring the knowledge, training them, giving them the confidence, supporting them while they are doing this crazy transition. So, because in many ways, I mean, there are kind of such misconceptions sometimes in the industry, which is everybody in LinkedIn is talking about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. Hence, everybody is using it incorrect, absolutely incorrect. This is not the case. So when there is all these hypes, of course, people who know about it talk about it, and everybody wants to learn. So these forums are amazing to gather information, even to know where to go to look for more, and all that. That is all amazing. But then companies implement new technologies, new ways, new services, whenever they are ready, whenever they can, at their own space and rhythm. Because, of course, it's a very disruptive new step, and it takes a lot of effort and commitment to do it. So, sometimes it feels that everybody has it, let's say, right? In the same way that it feels that everybody has great quality programs, right? Everybody looks after their quality so well. And then it's the reality.
Yes, I know.
So, for that reason, I think there is, there is still a need and all that. It's kind of exhausting having to be out there all the time, being visible, being present, and all that. And that is, I suppose, the life of the independent consultant. I work on my own. I work with Robert in Magic Beans. I work with other people, but I have to be out there, letting people know that I exist all the time. And that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of effort.
Yes, for sure. But it keeps it fresh, right? Because you have to talk to a lot of people. You have to see it from many perspectives. So I guess it's also different from someone who only works with one company and, of course, embraces the philosophy that comes from the company, because you've seen many, right?
Yes.
You've taken your conclusions at this point, and now you're absolutely at a position where your opinion is very valuable because of all the years of experience and being there while things were happening, which is different than just getting it while it's already in its course, right?
I suppose, I love working with new companies, even I not only implement machine translation, but I do a lot of machine translation implementation, even if I did that all the time, day in and day out, like all the cases are always different. You know, the languages are different, the locales are different, people work in for different clients, different content types, different verticals. Sometimes they already have married to a provider, and then I need to work with this provider, whether I would have thought, well, maybe I would have done something else, but they already are committed, they have all their workflows with this provider, whatever it is, you know. So it's challenging. I learn a lot. Then it's not only, of course, machine translation is only one step of the whole puzzle. Sometimes the TMS or the CAD tool is different. Okay, and there could be a new TMS I've never worked with. So I learned about this as well. So all this makes it very interesting. Yes, I like it very much.
Every time you show up to work, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, certainly every time I talk to a new client, I don't know what new challenge I'm going to find. But normally, I mean, I haven't been I suppose I have been able to go along with it. I haven't yet said I cannot do this. So that's good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. This has been amazing. It's amazing to me to talk to someone who really has hands-on experience from this other point of view, right? From more the company side of things, more the corporate kind of things, side of things, because I think is one thing that we're missing in our little translation LSP providers community, is that we usually don't have the perspective from that side. And I really wanted to bring people who have this amount of experience and might shed some light on some things that sometimes have been obscured by less informed opinions. So thank you so much, and I hope we can talk soon more about your activities and your amazing skills and your communications and all of that. So thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was lovely talking to you, Rita.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye. See you soon.
Bye. Bye. Bye.